Sean with Talking Tickets with Vinny Gargiola with VIP memorabilia, and we're getting all into autograph talk tonight. All right, so Vinny, thanks for coming on. Vinny's a autograph specialist. I don't know how you define your business or kind of how you deal with autographs, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and VIP memorabilia.
Oh, well, I started out kind of probably how most people did as a kid, chasing autographs and at hotels and golf tournaments and different events around town. I was selling them to a local card store, which I worked at. At that point, you'd see what the stuff is selling for, and then you're kind of like, well, I could probably do this myself. And you start selling it yourself on eBay, and here we are 30 years later.
Is this 30 years? Are you full-time? Is it your full-time gig doing autographs and online?
The amount of time I put into it, I would say yes, full-time. I do have a job as well, but I do this probably as much.
All right, so you got two full-time jobs. Now, do you would you say, do you get all your autos through shows, or do you still go out and try to hustle out in the public and meet guys at random places?
I would say the bulk of it now is through shows and private signings. The in-person stuff, it's so hit or miss, and with having a full-time job and having a family, it's hard to justify going out to put in however many hours to get denied, or for one half of an autograph because the guy doesn't want to switch pens and he's got a dead pen, or whatever the case might be. It's time obviously has a value to it, so it's usually better to just pay. The stuff usually gets done better that way.
Right, more professional. Well, I guess the big question that people have been talking about, especially online, is we're seeing a lot of times now where we have a ticket signed that we want to get signed. And now, before we could send it into these private signings or go to shows and get them signed. But now a lot of these companies are saying, hey, we're not signing tickets anymore. I guess one, tell us why that is happening. And two, kind of give us your thoughts or your opinions on how, the direction of that is going in the ticket world.
I wouldn't say that I have an answer as to why it's happening. I can obviously give an opinion on that. And I mean, it's almost like anything else. If you're going to put out tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in some cases, millions of dollars to sign an athlete exclusive, there has to be perks to that. So if you decide you want to corner the ticket market, or you want to corner the rookie card market, or however you want to handle that, I mean, it's very similar to certain companies. They don't want to let their athletes sign unlicensed items.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an athlete exclusive, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. Do I agree with it? It doesn't really matter, I guess, if I agree with it or not. It's what they're doing, and it's working for them. Some people get upset because they feel like that the companies go out and they buy up all the tickets and sell them for more money. If you guys want to do that, or anybody wants to do that, pick a player and sign them exclusive. You get to make the rules. If you're putting out that money, I mean, you get to make your rules at that point, So yeah, it's unfortunate if you're sitting there on rookie cards or you're sitting there on tickets and it's something you want to get done. It sucks as a collector. I run my business. I sell a lot of helmets. I sell a lot of jerseys. I do collect tickets. I don't sell my tickets. I think I've sold one ticket in the last however long I've been collecting. I just kind of hold on to them. But as far as that goes, I mean, if you're signing a guy exclusive, you kind of get to make your own rules in that situation.
Sean, what's your opinion on, or how do you feel about the whole auto world and how the direction is going, especially with tickets?
Yeah, I guess the issue I have with it is that it sort of has the effect of raising prices across the board on tickets. unsigned or signed. And so if you do have a situation where these companies, and I don't know if they are, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It doesn't seem like you see a flood of signed guys tickets on the market after they have these rules. So let's say they are buying up, inventory that's available. Let's say, any player, name a player, and then all of a sudden all their inventory gets bought up. Then obviously that raises the market price for that player's tickets, debuts, moments, whatever. And so then a guy like me, who I don't care about autograph tickets and I don't care about autographs really in general, then I have to pay more to get the ones that I do want. So it kind of has this effect of, I wouldn't say artificially inflating, but just inflating in general, the market overall for everybody. And that's the issue I have with it. And that's why I'm even concerned about it, because one might say, well, if you don't care about autographs, then why do you even care about this issue? And that's what it is. I think we saw last year, especially, a lot of guys who were actively signing tickets go up in value significantly, autographed or unautographed. And it's kind of this feedback loop of, if you get it signed, it's worth more. So the unsigned version of it goes more because of the prospect of getting it signed. And then, then the signed version goes up because the unsigned version is worth more, and on and on. And that affects everyone. So that's my issue with it. I don't know if they are buying up inventory. I don't know, I have no insight into that world at all. Do you have any idea, Vinny?
I don't think they're buying into it or buying up inventory any more than they were before. I don't really have any further insight into it as far as that goes. I see where you're coming from with that, but I mean, let's use a Peyton Manning debut, for example. I bought one, I don't even know what year it was, and I bought it on eBay. I won it in auction. It was a season ticket version. I think I paid $850 for it. And a couple of guys I talked to were like, "Oh man, yep, exactly. you way overpaid for that. You're crazy." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I thought it was decent." And now they're selling Ticketmaster versions and box office versions for $5,000 plus. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily that they're not letting guys sign them, because I feel like that's something that's fairly new. Especially with Fanatics. I mean, I'm a preferred Fanatics vendor, and they literally just started, with this round of signings, if you will, no more tickets. When they just released the Peyton Manning and Charles Woodson sending information for the month of for May.
Do they do that for Charles Woodson also?
It's across the board now. So like last time I had a Charles Woodson debut, I got signed. I actually bought a couple more. I was going to get them signed. I can't get them done this time. So the rules may change, but as of right now, all Fanatics players going forward, the only exception that's still outstanding is Chris Paul. We took a bunch of send-ins for Chris Paul, and that was before the ticket rule. So they're going to honor anybody that sent in tickets, or the other rule they made was inscriptions on cards, but that's still going to be fulfilled. And then after that, that'll be pretty much the last of letting any tickets get signed through Fanatics, at least for the immediate future.
So Vinny, I'm not familiar with the autograph world. So if this is a dumb question, say so. It's no big deal. Do these exclusives include if you were to run into this player like face to face somewhere at a game or at a hotel or something? Do they deny fans that way just because they have these exclusives?
That's another tricky, slippery slope there. So the answer is no. The short answer and the easy answer is no. It has nothing to do with if you run into them on the street. Yeah. I've never seen an exclusive, or I've never been told there's an exclusive where a player is not allowed to sign. The player can do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. They just can't take money to sign. So, if you walked up to them on the street and said, "Hey, I want to pay you to sign 50 items or 20 items," no, they can't do that. Legally, they can't do that. But if you walk up as a fan and you're like, hey, can you sign my sweatshirt or my baseball hat or my card or my ticket? They can do that. There's nothing affecting them. Now, I've seen players, I've seen representatives, I've seen security tell people, oh, well, it's in my contract, I can't sign. It's not in their contract that they can't sign for free for a fan or for a kid or whatever. That's okay. But it's easy for them to say that if they don't want to, or they feel like that's going to be sold, or whatever the case might be. So, no, I've never seen that.
Right, and sometimes, of course, if you get in signed in person, it's probably not going to be as high as quality, with a private signing. And do some guys do less of a signature out in public compared to a private signing, like maybe do their initials or don't do it as nice compared to a private signing?
Yeah, absolutely. There's guys that will have two different versions of their signature. I can tell you, Eli Manning is a perfect example of that. Did I lose you guys?
Yeah.
No?
I know you're here. We got you.
Okay. I froze on my end. So Eli Manning is a perfect example of that. Eli has a nice full every letter autograph at a paid signing, but you get him at training camp and you're getting Eli MG. Mm-hmm. There's other players who will give you initials. There's all kinds of guys that do a shorter or they just won't sign at all. And then you have some guys who actually will give you a nicer autograph in person than at a paid signing. It sounds crazy, but there's certain guys that'll write their number that normally don't. And Peyton, for example, if you get Peyton in person, 9 times out of 10 he's writing his number, but during a signing, he's pretty much just a machine, just going down the line, just signing everything.
Yeah. What say guys who watch this show want to get their tickets signed, and for guys who will do signings, I mean, where do you recommend they look? Like the Facebook group, certain websites, of course your site, the VIP memorabilia.
I mean, the bulk of guys will still do tickets. It's pretty new.
But like, where would they just in general say, oh, I'm interested in these 8 guys. I'd like to find how I can get them signed, because for a lot of people, they're starting from scratch and have no idea where to even look to find where to, who does their signings? Where do I send it to? Does this player even do a signing? Looking online, where would they find that info?
So you could go to, I mean, there's plenty of Facebook groups that you can go to. You can follow different company pages for different companies. I mean, different guys have different exclusives. So it depends on the sport you want. It depends on the player you want.
Right. So the big ones are what? Fanatics. What are some of the other big companies out there?
Fanatics has a lot of exclusives. The CSA group. Those are the guys that do the show in Chantilly, Virginia. GTSM has a lot of exclusives. Mm-hmm. He does a couple shows. Obviously, you have TriStar. Those are pretty much your big ones.
I know I've found some through the Facebook groups, like football private signings, basketball private signings. And I think that's how I found you. Sean Benny's had me sign. He did my Manning autos when it happened, 6-9 months ago, and quite a few others. And I guess you say you're what, a preferred dealer for some of these groups? Is that how that works?
Yeah. So I work with Fanatics. I do their send-ins for pretty much all their signings. And then as far as, the shows go, I'll go to some shows. I'll set up. I'll take mail order for some of the shows. So it just depends.
So I am actually a novice at this. And I have, whoever ticket, not even a ticket, just I want to get something signed by them. And I go to Google or whatever. I have no idea even where to start. Like, how would I even, now I know, because I would just message you. But I mean, if I didn't know you, what would I do?
I mean, by all means, I don't do every single signing.
But you could probably send me in the right direction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of Facebook groups. There's the Autographs 101. There's Mike had mentioned the private signings pages for each sport. different dealer pages. There's the signingshotline.com page. That's been around forever. The page itself has looked the same as far as I can remember. So it's a little archaic, but it works. A lot of guys will still advertise on there. And I mean, at this point, I feel like with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I mean, you can pretty much go search anything. And if it's out there, you can find it. If not, you can find a group and somebody else can point you in the right direction for that. So I can't say that's always the best because some people don't know what they're talking about or they point you in the wrong direction.
Right.
But
I was thinking, I've heard a lot of horror stories about this type of thing, and nobody wants to send their valuables to, somebody they don't know or don't trust. So how do you know? How do you filter out the fraud and shadiness?
It's hard because now, especially, and I'll use the Facebook groups, for example, people say, oh, I'm looking for a vouch for this guy, or I'm doing a deal with that guy. Can we get vouches? For me, when I vouch for somebody, that's like me putting my money behind them. Like basically saying, Sean, I'll vouch for Mike. And if Mike screws you, I would cover for Mike. Mm-hmm. But most people are like, oh yeah, I see this guy and he did a trade with so-and-so who knows so-and-so. So yeah, he must be good. Mm-hmm. Like that's, to me, it should be a little bit more than that. You should be able to stand behind it and say either you've done a deal with that person or, you would back that person. But that's kind of your best way is to ask other people that have done business or, obviously Googling somebody or their company. I think it's funny when I scroll through some of the pages and I'll see somebody I've never heard of before saying, oh, I'm taking consignments for such and such show. And it's like, oh, okay, well, who is this person? I've never seen them before and they're not set up at the show. And, you go in and you start reading a little bit more and they're like, oh, well, I want to meet this player. So if you pay for the autograph ticket, I'll take your item and I'll get it signed for you just so I can get a picture with them. And then I'll mail your item back to you.
Sounds like amateur hour.
Kind of makes me laugh a little bit. I mean, what we're doing in the back is a little bit different than that particular situation. But, that person is limited because now they're using and this is maybe going a little further than what you were looking for. But, when you walk up to the table at the show and on the public side, they might have a blue Sharpie, a black Sharpie, a silver Sharpie, and that's it. And you want your item done in a gold paint pen, and they don't have that there. So, whatever ticket it might be, now you're like, okay, well, I paid you to do this for me, and it comes back in a black Sharpie, and you wanted a gold paint pen. Well, now you're going to be upset because that was probably pretty expensive, and it could be a ticket that you can't replace.
Right, and I like how you're talking about the ink and the paint pens. So, kind of, do you have some items? Is your screen still frozen, Vinny, or is it okay?
My screen's been frozen since minute 10:55.
Okay. Well, you're coming on fine, so as long as you can hear us, I think we're all right.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you guys fine. We're just you're looking at me funny and I look funny, so I think I was funny though.
For the paint pens, and talk about exactly what a paint pen is and kind of what you recommend to get tickets signed on. Blue, Sharpie, ink, paint pen, all that stuff.
It just all depends. I mean, I'm gonna show you here. I mean, I don't know if you can see. This is Trevor Lawrence National Championship ticket.
Right.
So I don't know how well you guys can see it because I'm frozen.
I see the ticket fine. Yeah, it looks
right.
good.
So you see the gold autograph on there.
Where's it at?
Like right here across the top.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a perfect example of, if the ticket's nice, it looks like it should be signed in gold, kind of almost like a felt material. So a gold paint pen would look really good. So they started getting them signed, and then all of a sudden I get a text message saying, hey, these really aren't coming out that good. Do you want to switch to a different color? I'm like, not really. I wanted them in gold, but let's see what silver looks like.
Right.
Mm.
So I've got half in gold, half in silver. Now the silver pops more, but you would think that the gold would be better.
Now, is that the paint pen silver?
Yeah, this is a silver Prisma paint pen.
Now, when you get your tickets autoed, what percent do you think you do paint pen and what percent do you think you do Sharpie?
It depends on the material of the ticket. I mean, Sharpie, I think, is going to fade over time or bleed in sometimes. But sometimes if it's a super, super glossy ticket, you don't want to use a paint pen because it's going to bubble on you.
Right.
So, on the older tickets, I think Sharpie is the way to go. See if I can find the other. So then, I'll give you this example here. This is the Chris Johnson 2,000-yard ticket.
Right.
This is in a shock blue paint pen. So here's a blue Sharpie. Here's a blue paint pen.
Can you raise them up a little bit?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could see the blue paint versus the blue Sharpie.
Right.
The blue paint really pops on that ticket.
Right.
So there's really no right or wrong way for it. And another one that I'll tell you that's been making me crazy is let me find it here. I got it right here. The Eli Manning debut ticket. So I got the Eli ticket done. I've tried it in blue.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like it. Tried it in white. Didn't like that either. And then finally I was like, all right, well, let's try blue at the top. Still don't like it. There's no good color, in my opinion, to get this ticket signed in.
It looks like the white. For me, it always seems like which pops the most and which doesn't bleed into the background.
Yeah.
And then it's, the placement on the ticket. Like, how much do you analyze where to get it signed on the ticket? And how do you decide the location of your autograph on the ticket?
It's hard because here's another example of Dan Marino. So a customer had sent in a Marino and he wanted his signed like this.
Right, the bottom and the top.
The bottom and the top. Again, I don't know how well you can see it because I can't see the screen. So he sent his in. He wanted it like this.
Right.
I didn't like it. I wanted mine like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want it signed big. Well, I got mine signed big across the ticket, and I'm like, I don't really like that. So at the next signing, I did one like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's preference. If someone's going to get you a ticket signed in a dead pen, then obviously you'd be upset by it. But here's another hard ticket. Terrell Davis. He's got a pretty tight, clumped up autograph, and there's only a couple of white spots on the ticket.
Right.
If you try to use a paint pen on this, it's just going to get lost, in my opinion. So, some people are all about paint pens. Some people are all about Sharpie. To me, I think it just kind of depends on the ticket. And, sometimes you have to get them done a couple times if you have the opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, that's so hard because it makes it, some guys have one rare ticket and you basically got one shot to get this right. And you're relying on one ticket to get to the autograph guy, two to get it signed, three, the right pen color, four, the right location. And then, the guy to sign it, make it look good.
Yeah.
So 64 championship ticket for Jim Brown. Would never think to get that done in anything other than a Sharpie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you have to take into account the player's age, and this was signed 3 years ago, I think. But even then, he was still shaky. So you have to be careful on their age, how they push on the pen. I'll give you another perfect example is Terry Bradshaw. If you have a blue Stadler, he does every letter of his name, and he does everything real close. And obviously a ticket is small. So if you can get Terry Bradshaw to sign in a blue Stadler versus a blue Sharpie, then I think you're in a better spot because the blue Sharpie is just going to be so wide on there.
Now, when you say a Stadler, what's a Stadler?
Here, I have one. I have an example. Mariano Rivera.
the non-autograph guy has this
Yeah,
Stadler.
I just
one,
happen
right?
to have a
Is there
Stadler.
one?
But it's the only reason why I know this, because this is the pen I used, and it's and you can see with Mariano Rivera, it's like you need to be able to see every little letter because he has such a great signature, and so it's a finer point, right?
Right, it's a finer point. It doesn't really blow out like a Sharpie does. There's a huge difference with the Sharpie from the time that you open it up and use it the first time versus, after the guy signed a stack of photos or, some helmets or something like that. So the Stadler keeps a nice, almost like a pen tip, but it's still a marker.
Okay.
Yeah. See, Vinny, this is all really useful information for somebody who is just getting into this. You should. I don't know if there's like a guide somewhere. If somebody went to Google and just started looking up what kind of pen to use in what situation, whether it's glossy or not glossy, it's an old ticket or it's even different kind of material, whether it's an 16 by 12 by 10 or whatever. It's where how do they find out? Is it just trial and error like you're describing?
I mean, that's one of the things that over the years you kind of learn some tricks of the trade. You learn what works and what doesn't. But I'll tell you, I still screw it up sometimes. I'll use the wrong pen, or you thought the pen was prepped and it wasn't, or you took
Prepped.
a paint pen.
What does that mean to prep a pen?
So on your paint pen, it's almost like a spray paint can, I guess you could say. A lot of them have a little ball in there. There's ink in there. You shake it up, and you have to release the pressure of the pen and get the ink flowing into the tip of the marker. So it's not like just a plain Sharpie where, it's ready to roll as soon as you pop the cap off of it. Another thing that people struggle with all the time is, and I find it funny on photos and tickets and cards especially, what color should I use? Where should I get it signed? The easiest thing that you can do is take a sleeve, whether it's a penny sleeve for a card or a top loader or whatever. Take whatever color marker you think you want to use or whatever type of pen you want to use and write on the top loader or the sleeve with that marker on that spot. And that's going to give you the most accurate representation without actually writing on the photo or the card or the ticket of where you want it signed or how you want it signed. So if you don't like it, draw on a different spot, write on a different spot.
Great advice.
Yeah, for sure.
You should write a book, Vinny.
The book maybe, but you were saying the whole, Google and the guidebook. There's no money in that.
Yeah.
Are there any forums you get on that's mainly auto guys that just talk about everything autograph related?
No, because when you do it, and I hate to say this because this always makes people upset when I say it. I'll use Joe Montana, for example. When you've met Joe Montana for the however many time it doesn't mean anything to you anymore.
Right. So
yeah, Joe Montana is great. He's fantastic. He's a nice guy. I enjoy working with him just because he's easy. But you don't have that same type of excitement as Sean might, because Sean was a huge fan and never met him before. So
when they see you, they're probably like, "Oh, Vinny, hey!" They recognize you, say, "What's up?"
Some of the guys, yes. Some of the guys, yes. Some of the agents, yes. But a lot of them don't as well. It just all depends. It depends how often you see them. And how long you've been working with them. But as far as guys sitting around and talking, especially after like a show, you go to do the show and everybody's like, "Oh, well, you go do the work and it must be so cool." I mean, it's great, but you get there at 8:30 in the morning. You're on your feet till 10, 11 o'clock at night, packing, unpacking, repacking. If you're just going through the public line and you're getting your items done, cool, it's fun, But as far as the show part of it goes, there's a lot of work involved that I think that people don't realize that goes into it.
Right. Another question I had, how do you feel about inscriptions like MLB debut or, whatever the historical event was? Are you more inclined to get those inscriptions or not?
The cost is a huge factor. The size of the ticket is a huge factor. Another issue that we ran into recently was we got some tickets signed, and we had the first playoff win and the first playoff home run, I think it was. And somehow the inscriptions got switched. And he wrote first playoff win on the first home run tickets, I think.
Yeah.
So, or it was a playoff debut versus the playoff home run, I think.
Right.
There was like 3 of one and 4 of the other, and somehow they got switched. So the inscriptions are good, but there's definitely margin for error. This one here, this one got an inscription on it, and the inscription was incorrect. Sometimes they'll spell something wrong, and then you kind of look at it and you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that.
What was wrong about that inscription? Did he have the yards wrong?
No, he was supposed to write first to 2,000 yards, and he put 2 O's and 2. He used the wrong 2. So,
that's O.J. Simpson, though, right?
But that's one of the things you have to take into account. Like, how close of attention are they going to pay to the notes?
Right.
Do you feel like inscriptions add that much more value, or just a little bit?
It also depends on the player, I guess. The other thing that's scary about the inscription is I don't know if you guys grade your autographs or you just grade the tickets, or if you don't believe in the grading at all. But on certain guys, they always go off the side of the ticket, or they always go off the side of the card. And one mark off the side of the ticket, now your ticket's only ever going to get at least, or at best, a 9 on the autograph.
Right.
Just if they go off, if the letter goes off the page.
Right. So if it goes off the left and the right, now you're at a best of an 8.
And do you know who commonly does that before going into it, or is it something you have an idea, or is it just hit or miss?
You can ask. I can tell you, Jerry Cramer was the Packers offensive lineman that went in the Hall of Fame. And for a while, every single rookie card I ever saw always went off the right of the card. Every single one. And I was at a show with him, and I had a couple cards, and I was sitting there just talking to him. I like talking old football, and I really enjoy the history of it. And that's why I am so into the tickets, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said to him, I said, all your cards, I always see you go off the side of the card. He's like, I never really thought about it. Does it matter? I said, it doesn't really matter. I said, but it affects the quality of it. On these couple, can you make sure you don't go off the card? And he kind of looked at me funny. He's like, okay. He signed them pretty slow. He signed them real nice. They came out really good.
Yeah.
But to them, and I say to them, there's a lot of guys that do take pride in it.
Right.
Now, a guy like Cramer is older. He has a nice autograph. He takes pride in it. It looks good. But it's something that was never brought up. No one ever told him. He would never think that it could affect the value, or probably doesn't care still to this day.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of those things that if you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing, or knows tendencies, if you will, or whatever the case might be, that's something that's going to help you get a better quality product if you're selling it, a better quality product for your collection. There's other things with guys where they won't write their number unless you ask. But back to the inscription, to me, it just, I guess it all depends on if you want to get it graded and if you think it's going to fit, and are you willing to take the risk of possibly not getting a Gem Mint 10 autograph because you asked for an inscription, or,
mm-hmm.
if the player writes their number on top of their autograph or there's a skip in the inscription, because all that factors into the grading, of course.
Right.
So, it'll certainly set it apart. I know Mike showed his Peyton before, but I'll tell you, like, on mine, let's find it. I did the inscription on mine. I haven't sent mine back in to be graded yet.
Right.
But I did the NFL debut inscription on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is it worth it? I don't know. It sets it apart from some of the others.
I feel like the thought is if you get the inscription, it does make it more valuable. But I personally like it without the inscription, unless, like you said, the ticket's really big and it would fit and look really nice. But all things being equal, I prefer just the name. But I feel like I'm in the minority. I feel like most people prefer the inscription. Do you agree with that?
I think a lot of people look at, obviously, the size of the ticket and what they're collecting. If you're only collecting debuts and you want your collection to all be uniform, but you also have to keep in mind that there's certain guys that don't do inscriptions or only have a select number of inscriptions that they can do. So if you're super, super anal about your collection and you need everything to be exactly the same, probably not worth doing it. Certain tickets, like the Peytons, there's not a ton of them out there. So yeah, I think having the inscription definitely adds to it. It's hard because if someone's going to spend, I don't know, I haven't even seen what the last Peyton debuts have sold for. Where are we even at with those? Do you know?
I haven't seen one, but I think you're probably right when you said like in the $4-5 grand unautoed. I would think like a good version of it.
But I'm saying like a signed one. I think the last signed one I saw was the one signed in gold in the golden auction. It went for like 87 or 8,800, I think, and that was a long time ago.
Right.
So, if a Peyton's going to sell for 15 with no inscription, is it going to sell for 20 with the NFL debut inscription? I can't see it making that much of a difference.
Right. Maybe if it was like the only one or there was very few of them, something like that made it stand out.
Right. I'm not sure it's going to make that huge of a difference, but I think there's definitely people that look at it and say, more ink equals more value.
Okay.
I always think about this. If you have like a PSA 10, would you ever think about cracking that and getting it signed? Or would you just like, it's a 10, I don't want to mess with it and do the whole regrade?
I would find it hard to crack a 10. I've cracked a lot of 9s, Super Bowl tickets, a lot of 9s, a lot of 8s. I just don't think I could bring myself to crack a 10. Because even if you crack it yourself and you crack it perfectly and you put it straight into a hard holder, go and get it signed yourself and hand deliver it back to PSA.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so subjective.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a way, some people say, oh, well, favoritism towards this person or this company or whatever. I just feel like the grading is so subjective where you can look at it and not be able to tell the difference between a 9 and a 10. And they might explain to you what it is that they see that makes that difference, and you still don't see it.
Yeah, so, especially with tickets.
Yeah. And the craziest thing, you could walk up and, like I said, you can take it straight from the holder and put it on the table ever so gently in front of whoever's signing it. And guys will just put their hand down and slide it over to themselves. And, it could hit something on the table. It could hit whatever. It could be the craziest thing. And now all of a sudden you just ding that corner and your 10 just went down to a 5 or a 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, value wise, I think the 10s, especially on the older stuff, are so rare. Unless it was, I don't know, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head where I would say, yeah, I got to crack a 10.
Right. What, You can you show us some of your bigger ones or some of your favorite autograph tickets you have handy?
Hold on 1 second. My dog's going nuts here.
And also, if you want to, you maybe try to log out and log back in if you want to see if you're still frozen.
Yeah, let me try to do that. Let me see if I can leave the studio and come right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Sean, hearing all this, you think you more inclined to get your ticket signed? Still the same?
No, I'm still the same because autographs just don't do it for me. But I think it's fascinating, and I've always thought that the world of autographs and tickets combining is good in general for the market because it just brings so many more people into it who are autograph people. I have lots of autographs, but it's just not something that I collect, and it's not something that I actively try to find. And then, of course, with tickets, I just don't. I'm not interested in paying the premium for them.
Right.
On the other hand, getting it signed, if it was an easy process, if it was, I would probably do it if it was, especially if it's a ticket that otherwise wouldn't be particularly exciting because it's pretty common. It's a good way to differentiate between, for a common ticket, something that's out there a lot.
Right. Let me show you some. Oh, there's Vinny. Vinny's back. All right, are you unfrozen?
Yeah, I think we're good. I don't know what the dog's barking at, but
all right, let's see them. Let's see some of your big boys, the ones you love the most, or your favorites.
The ones I love the most, well, definitely this one. Huge Peyton fan.
Hey, I was going to notice the tickets you've shown. So do you not grade your tickets? Do you kind of what's your thoughts on getting them graded?
I have a lot graded. This is the Peyton Marvin where they broke Rice and Montana's record.
Oh, cool.
Dual signed by both. And then this is the Ticketmaster debut.
I actually think, the box office versions look better autoed than the seasons. I guess for two reasons, because a lot of times they're horizontal. And then also the season ticket version is, has a lot going on. It's really busy and usually nicer looking. But I feel like the auto on a box office really makes it a better ticket when it's all said.
Yeah, some of it it's cleaner. You can see the autograph better, I think, a lot of times. Trying to find one of the nice ones here that I was pretty surprised when I got it back, actually. But here's actually something different. Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, nice.
The halftime show.
Oh, yeah, halftime show.
That's
something
cool.
Different. Well, I had a Montana.
I know I have a few. I guess we can just kind of show them. This is like one of the first ones I actually bought. It was autoed. And Sean, you have this ticket. It's the Larry Bird. It came autoed already, and Beckett authenticated it. I don't know if I've shown this one. That's the Leitner, the shot. That's one of my favorite ones. This is probably my biggest one, and I thought it came out really nice. Was the Bird Magic championship game. And I was really kind of nervous about that one because it's, it's pretty high dollar when it's all said and done. But even though it's the Brady thing, I bought a couple Brady's at an auction before, things kind of got big. The Bledsoe game and then his first TD.
So, Mike, are you nervous at all when you send that stuff through the mail?
A little bit for sure. Especially if it's high dollar, I'm definitely. Because so many things have to go right, and it takes one little thing to go wrong.
How do you send it? Do you send it with insurance and
actually,
whatnot?
I honestly don't, because I've shipped 1,000 packages and I've never had one lost, and it's just very expensive to do insurance.
Yeah,
and I'm always afraid, this is gonna be the one time where it's gonna bite me. But
do you go through just the post office?
No, FedEx. I'll only do FedEx or UPS because something goes wrong with the post office. It's hard to get a hold of them. It's the post office, but FedEx and UPS are public, very professional.
It seems to me like FedEx and UPS are more commonly have problems though.
I've never had a problem with
experience,
FedEx. I mean, Vinny, what do you recommend for shipping and
So,
insurance and all that?
FedEx actually will only insure sports memorabilia up to a certain point. So, when you say about the insurance, I mean, you're sending this stuff and you're kind of just praying as it goes, even if you're not religious. And that's a lot of the reason I would say why I probably haven't sent my stuff or haven't sent some of it, just because especially between shipping it and the turnaround times.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're like, well, at least if it's here, I know it's here, I guess.
Yeah. It really doesn't add a lot of value to it in terms of, whether it's slabbed or not.
Oh, I think it adds a huge value to it.
Does it?
Oh, I think so. And part of me, honestly, that's another reason why I probably haven't gotten some of my stuff slabbed, is because then I feel like at that point it's a lot easier to sell it too.
So there's a difference between adding value and then being able to sell it a lot easier. Is that what you're, because if assuming the autograph is authenticated, then why would it add a whole lot of value if, unless it isn't authenticated?
I think a lot of the people that collect tickets don't want the sticker on their item.
Oh, so you don't want the
authentication. How do you feel about, the stickers? Do you get your item stickered?
All the Fanatics guys, obviously now they're not signing tickets anymore, so that's kind of out the window. But I was doing it on all the Fanatics ones. I mean, those Trevor Lawrences I just showed you, I think I did. I had them sticker all the backs of those. That was one of the last ones that we were able to get tickets at. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it decreases the value at all, but some people just don't like it.
Right. And then say you get your item stickered, would you still 100% send it into PSA, if in the long run you wanted to sell it, like double authentication?
Yeah, I think it's worth getting it slabbed, even if it is stickered. It's protecting it as well. I mean, it's keeping the dust off of it. It's
right.
Not if someone spills a drink on your whatever and you happen to have your tickets in that cabinet, or whatever the case might be, it adds an extra little layer of protection. It keeps your kids from bending it in half or stepping on it, or
just accidentally when you're storing them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely better.
Yeah.
Hey, Vinny, I have a question for you. This just popped in my head, and it's a pet peeve of mine. It seems like, I think we're probably around the same age, maybe, but over time, autographs have gotten so bad. Do you agree with that? Or
yeah,
the quality of them, it's just like a little squiggly line nowadays.
The Vince McMahon autograph.
The Vince McMahon or the Tim Allen.
Sometimes it's really just it's frustrating because a lot of people, like you said, pay a lot of money for this, and all he's doing is just a couple squiggly lines and sending it on.
So I think part of that is they don't teach you how to write anymore. That's part of it.
Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with maybe not paying attention or attending those classes. You really don't write anything anymore. You do everything on the computer or a tablet. So you're really not writing. You're not learning cursive.
I think that they could teach him to just write his name.
I think that
if he knows he's going to do it thousands of times.
But I think a lot of that is a self-pride thing too. I think that there's certain players, even some younger players, that take pride in it.
Yeah.
Some guys will tell you it's not really my name. It's more of kind of like a drawing or an artwork.
Right.
Some guys will write their whole name. Some guys, you'll get one initial, two initials and a number.
Yeah.
It's, some people say it's better than nothing. Some people don't like it at all. And then, like we talked about with certain guys that have different in person or paid autographs. I'll tell you another thing. I don't know if it's a pet peeve of mine, but it's something I've been noticing a lot more lately. If you look at a lot of the rookie cards, the autographs are initials or very short, or completely different than if a guy is doing a signing or or you see the autograph or something like that. Now, one of the first guys that did that, maybe not one of the first guys, but a guy that's a huge example of that is Ezekiel Elliott. Mm-hmm. On all his cards, you get Easy E21 or Easy E15. And in person, he has a really nice autograph. At a signing or whatever, he writes out his full name. But a lot of the rookies are like that now because they hit the rookies at the rookie camp or the rookie symposium or whatever when they're doing all their photo shoots, kind of part of the NFLPA thing, and you get a completely different signature versus what it is.
Because they're presumably signing thousands of things at one time, and they just don't have time to take time to do each one. Right.
That, and I think they're also being paid considerably less, or, in some cases it's part of their deals to sign X amount of cards, and they may not necessarily care what it looks like. Or, a lot of times you'll see guys with the stickers where they go off the sticker, so you can have a real nice insert card or something like that, and, a good part of the autograph's off the sticker.
Yeah.
Right. And then, some guys have different autographs as they, from the rookie year to the time they retire. And then I guess like a Michael Jordan earlier version may go for more than the Michael Jordan modern version of the autograph. Things like that.
Yeah, you definitely see the evolution. I mean, Jordan's a hard one to compare anything to because, the value is still there regardless of the older one versus the newer one. Some of the things that I still think are kind of crazy, just being in the business for as long as I have, is you have a Michael Jordan, let's just say a Sports Illustrated, was signed in person at a golf tournament. Beautiful autograph, older autograph, every letter authenticated by, you pick the company, whoever you want. And then you have that same Sports Illustrated with an Upper Deck cert that's selling for 5 times the amount of the other one.
Wow.
Same quality autograph, but one was Upper Deck and one was third party authenticated. So to me, that's still kind of why is the Upper Deck more? Because it was done at a sit down signing. Obviously if it's in better condition, I could understand it being worth more money, but it's also hard with the authentication companies because now it's like everyone just puts all of their trust into third-party authentication. Several years ago, you would be doing this, and regardless if it was a card, a ticket, a helmet, a jersey, whatever, people were buying from you because of your reputation, because of, this guy goes to signings, or this guy is a known autograph hound or an autograph chaser or whatever you want to call it. And you built your reputation, you built your business, let's say, where now it's like, okay, well, you post something for sale or you put something up and you forget to mention the COA. It's like the first thing people ask you is, what's the COA on that?
Right.
Unless it's one of the large companies, people are like, oh, I'm not interested, which is fine. They're obviously trying to protect their money and they're making sure they're buying something that's legit, but it's shifted the business to where anybody with a Facebook account now could be a dealer.
You get that COA, and that's all people care about in the end.
Right, you're just throwing money around. You're buying stuff that's pre-authenticated or whatever the case might be, where before you actually had to build your business and people had to know who you were and you had to keep those customers and keep them coming back because, that's just how you did it. So I think that's something that, where you said PSA on the tickets and getting the ticket slabbed, adding value, it doesn't necessarily add the value, but, it'll protect them and it helps you sell them because people look at it and they're like, well,
sure,
it's turnkey. I don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much ready to do whatever I want to do with it.
Right.
Well, I know we're up on the hour mark. Sean, do you have any questions, or Vinny, do you have any tickets you'd like to show that you definitely would never give away if your life depended on it?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, there was one I was chasing for a while that I picked up, the Jim Brown debut. Obviously, it's not signed.
Right.
I don't know if I'll get the opportunity to get it signed. He's been doing a couple signings, but There's been no send-in opportunities. So you'd only be able to buy completed product, which has pretty much just been helmets, helmets, footballs, whatever. Another set that I'm working on, I guess, if you want to call it that, is the 2,000-yard rusher set. So I'm down to there's OJ, Barry, Peterson, Chris Johnson. So I mean, I'm down to. I have a couple others too. I don't have them all in front of me, but
how many have there been?
Dickerson and Jamal Lewis.
Nice.
And then the other issue is with that. Oh, here's the Terrell Davis. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry hit 2,000 yards in the COVID year. There's no tickets for that.
Right.
So
maybe you get like a media pass or something like that.
I've yet to see one. I'm searching to see one. I reached out. He did it. He did it in Houston, and I've actually reached out to the Texans multiple times, multiple departments, multiple people to try to get anything at all that would grant you any kind of admission into the stadium, whether it be for the season or as an employee or.
They're out there. I mean, people went in there and they had passes, so they're
exactly. There's got to be something. Eventually, something will pop up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And now that they're playing 17 games, you're probably going to have more of that in the future. So
yeah, absolutely. It'll definitely be easier. I mean, I would think I can't believe Dickerson's record has stood this long, but
yeah,
I'm sure that'll be broken.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, did you have any other questions?
I noted one that I was curious about. What do you think the percentage of people that you work with are in it as collectors versus they're looking to resell?
Another thing, when you do this for this long, everybody tells you, "Oh, it's for my PC. It's for my PC. It's for my PC."
Yeah.
And you hear it so many times, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to give the guy a deal, or I'm going to help the guy out. And then 2 weeks later, you see it up for sale.
Right.
And you're like, you reach out to that person. You're like, hey, what happened? Oh, well, I fell on hard times, or I'm going in a different direction with my PC. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
So it's hard to differentiate because you again, that's another thing you kind of become callous to. It's like, okay, well, I need that for my PC. You and everybody else, man. Like, not to sound like a jerk, but the PC thing is kind of out the window.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody's got a price.
Yeah. I mean, everything pretty much has a price, but it's that me and a couple of my buddies, our line is, everything's PC till it's not.
Right.
And this, I got a really good deal on the Jim Brown ticket. Mike, I don't remember if I told you this story or not, but that is something that legitimately is for my PC, and
yeah,
I want to get it signed at some point. I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to, but that's something that I plan on hanging on to for sure. I've got plenty of other stuff I could sell before I would sell that one.
Well, I'll say, you and Sean have something in common. You guys never sell.
Yeah, I mean, I sold one ticket to a guy. I was doing a lot. I started doing mostly the Super Bowl MVPs on Super Bowl tickets, and then once I kind of stalled out on that a little bit, I started doing a couple other things, and then I was like, well, let me do the 2,000-yard rusher. Started doing debut tickets, and then just random milestone stuff. So I mean, I'm kind of all over the place. But I wound up picking up a Bo Jackson debut.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, wound up getting it signed. Somebody was looking for it, and I posted it. We were trying to trade. He really, really wanted it, and I was like, I really don't care about Bo Jackson. I'd rather get something else. We couldn't really come to any kind of deal on a trade. He made a couple offers. I was like, no, and then he came back. He's like, I gotta have it. He made an offer. I was like, you know what? Sure, just do it. So we wound up doing that, and that was the only time that I've sold. I've had other people asking buy stuff. I don't know. I'd rather trade for something else I want, I guess.
Right, right.
When it comes to the tickets, now obviously when it comes to the memorabilia and stuff like that, that's different. I just want to sell that stuff. But ticket wise, it just I love the history of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put a price on it. And then also too, you see the way everything just keeps going up and up and up. Who knows what's going to happen? The bottom could fall out, or it could continue to go up. You don't know.
Right, for sure. Well, Vinny, I appreciate you coming on. It's great. I think a lot of people had a lot of questions, and I think you gave us a lot of good answers. But yeah, hopefully you're going to be maybe if you're at Nationals, we'll see each other, or I'm sure we'll keep communicating online.
Yeah, National. I'm not really sure if I'm going to the National. National's a different animal in itself, just because of the amount of people that bring different athletes into that show. It's not kind of like your traditional show, I guess. Right. It's great for the collector because you get all kinds of different guys all over the place. I'll definitely be in Virginia the end of June. I'll do that show for sure. There's going to be some decent names there. I think that list should be updated fairly soon because we're a little over a month out. So I'll be taking items for that. But yeah, I may be over there.
Yeah. So if anybody needs something signed, like I said, I've used Vinny before. He's great. You can send him his stuff, reach him on Instagram, VIP Mem Tickets, and then you're on Facebook, VIP Memorabilia.
Yep, VIP Mem Signings on Instagram, and then VIP Memorabilia, Facebook.com/VIP Memorabilia for Facebook.
Great. Cool. All right, Vinny, I appreciate it. I guess. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.